Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unlocking the story of a simple idea that's pretty much the secret sauce of our entire digital world. It's this tiny logical switch, but it's so powerful that it makes everything from data encryption to cloud storage even possible. So, what's the connection? Well, it's this surprisingly elegant and powerful little idea from the world of logic. Think of it like an operator that acts almost like a secret code. All right, let's get into it. Our story here doesn't start with some gleaming modern computer chip. Nope, it starts with a person, someone with a really revolutionary idea. We're talking about a self-taught mathematician from way back in the 19th century named George Boole. And Boole, he had this incredibly bold ambition, right? He wanted to do something that nobody had ever done before. His goal was to create a system where you could calculate with ideas, with statements of logic, just like we use algebra to calculate with numbers. What a concept. Think about it. For literally 2,000 years, logic was basically philosophy. It was a set of rules for arguments that hadn't really changed since Aristotle. Then, bam, in 1847, Boole publishes his work and builds this amazing bridge to mathematics. But, and this is the key part, the real aha moment didn't even happen until almost a century later. That's when this brilliant engineer, Claude Shannon, came along and showed how this Boolean algebra could be used to design the electronic circuits that, well, they're the foundation of pretty much our entire digital world today. Okay, so at the very heart of Boolean system, you've got these simple operators you've probably heard of, like and, or, and not. But one of them is a little bit special. And it all comes down to how we use the word or in just, everyday language, which can be surprisingly ambiguous. So let's break that down. Yeah, so in day-to-day talk, or can be kind of fuzzy, right? Like if I say, hey, I'll bring a pen or a pencil, and I show up with both, you're not going to call me a liar. But if a menu says your meal comes with cake or ice cream, you'd definitely be a little surprised if they brought you both. That second meaning, that's what we're talking about. In logic, that's called exclusive or just XOR for short. The rule is simple. It's one or the other, but not both. All right, so what we're looking at here is a truth table. It's basically just a way to show every single possible outcome. And for XOR, the rule is really simple and super strict. The result is true only if the two inputs are different. If they're the same, so both false or both true, then the outcome is always false. That's the key right there. And if you're a visual person, here's a great way to picture it. XOR is everything in circle A and everything in circle B, but it strictly excludes that part in the middle where they overlap. So again, it's A or B, but absolutely never A and B at the same time. Okay, so this one simple rule, the fact that the inputs have to be different for the output to be true, this gives XOR a kind of hidden superpower. And it's this power that makes it one of the absolute most useful tools in all of computing. Seriously. So XOR has this really special mathematical property called involution. Now I know, that sounds super complex, right? But the idea is actually incredibly simple. It's a perfectly reversible operation. The best way to think about it is like a light switch. You flip it once, the light comes on. You flip it again, and boom, you're right back where you started, with the light off. And this reversibility, it's absolutely perfect for basic encryption. Just imagine your data is a string of ones and zeros, right? And you have a secret key, which is just another string of ones and zeros. If you combine them using XOR, what you get is a new string of bits that looks like total gibberish. It's just random noise. The great thing about it is that it's super fast. But that simplicity is also why, in modern encryption, it's usually just one piece of a much bigger, more complex puzzle. Okay, but here's the real magic. This is where that involution property comes in. You take that encrypted data, the stuff that looks totally random, and you apply the exact same key with XOR a second time, and poof, just like that, your original data reappears, perfectly restored. You don't need some complex decryption algorithm, just the same simple operation you used to encrypt it in the first place. It's amazing. And this is what really shows why XOR is so powerful for computers. It basically behaves like a special kind of addition, but one where you don't have to worry about carrying any numbers over. And because it's so predictable, it lets engineers and programmers use this whole arsenal of mathematical tools to manipulate data in some incredibly efficient ways. All right, so we've got the history from George Boole, we've got the theory of how XOR actually works, so the big question is, where does this 1,700-year-old idea actually show up? In the tech you and I use every single day? Well, in the world of electronics, this right here is the symbol for an XOR gate. This is the real thing, the physical component. It's a tiny little switch built from transistors, and its whole job is to perform that XOR operation on electrical signals, on the ones and zeros. And you can have millions, even billions of these things living on a single computer chip. And remember that self-inverse property we talked about? Well, that is the absolute secret behind the RAID systems that power data centers and all that cloud storage. You know, the stuff that keeps our digital lives safe if a hard drive fails. Let's just walk through how cool this is. Let's say you have data on drive 1 and other data on drive 2. The system takes both and XORs them together, and it stores that result, we call it parity, on a totally separate third drive. Now, what happens if drive 2 just dies? No panic. The system describes the data from the surviving drive 1, XORs it with that parity drive, and boom! Just like that, the lost data from drive 2 is perfectly resurrected. It's incredible. But look, it's not just about data recovery. Not at all. XOR is really a true digital Swiss Army knife. It's a fundamental building block for fast cryptography. It's a super simple way to check if data has errors. It's like a surgical scalpel for flipping individual bits from a 0 to a 1. Heck, it was even used as a clever trick for old-school computer graphics. It is, quite literally, everywhere.
So, what's the big takeaway here? I think it said even the most abstract ideas, something like uniting logic and mathematics, can have these unbelievably practical consequences, and often in ways that the people who came up with them could never, ever have imagined. It really makes you wonder, right? What simple idea that someone is having today is going to shape our future tomorrow? Thanks for watching.